Alright, so what we're going to do today is we are going to fold a basic crane. So what I have here is a sheet of paper, square sheet of paper, that is brown on one side and white on the other. So this is going to be a classic crane. So what we're going to do is we're just going to walk through the steps and see what we have. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half, and I want to fold it so that the fold is parallel to the sides. And I'm going to fold this in half like this. So the key is I want this crease to be parallel to the sides of the square sheet of paper. And we are going to do this both directions. So we fold it in half one way like this. We can open it up, and now we're going to fold it in half going this direction. So we're going to get this lined up. And so what we're doing is we're folding the first little base for the crane. Right, so we fold it in half this direction. And now what I want to do is I'm going to fold it in half diagonally, but instead of folding it closed this way so the color is on the outside, I want to fold it in half diagonally so that the white part is on the outside. So we're going to fold it in half this direction. And so we'll get that nice and lined up. Get that to the point that we are happy, and then we have our crease. Now, you don't have to do this one, but I'm going to actually repeat this same fold here, only because on one of the steps, having that crease there is going to make it easier to line up what we want to do. So let's go ahead and we'll fold this direction. And we'll fold it in half. And there we go. So we've done 4 folds. And so now what we want to do is we want to collapse this on itself. And when I would do that, what I want is I want 2 of these diagonal folds to kind of meet, come in and meet, and then this square flap is going to kind of come down, and then this one's going to come down like this too. And so what we're going to do is this is going to collapse in on itself, form this point up top. And so this is going to be our base for our crane. So as you can see here on the top we have that point, and on the bottom this is what it looks like if you want to open it up a little bit. Okay. Alright. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple more folds, and I'm going to take this flap here and I'm going to fold it like this. I'm going to bring this edge here, the edge that's open, I'm going to fold it so that it lines up with this crease in the middle. Okay, that's why I put this crease here. We don't need the actual crease for what we want to do, but it gives me a way of lining up this fold. So we're going to kind of fold this up. We're going to get it lined up. And let's see where we're... Fold that up a little bit and make it easier to see where we want to line this up. Alright. So there we go. We folded up this corner like this. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we want to repeat that fold with this flap here, and then when we're going to flip it over and we're going to repeat it on this side too. Alright. So now I'm going to take this flap and I'm going to fold it up so it lines up with this one, lines up with that middle. Now what we're doing is we're doing this to create this crease here. We're going to end up opening it back up when we're done with these 4 folds, but we need this crease right here. So that is one side. And now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over and repeat that on the other side. Alright, so we flip it over. Alright, so here we go. So we're going to fold this in. Get that lined up with that crease. There we go. So we folded that one in. Now we're going to do the same thing on this one. So we'll fold this in. Get this lined up. And there we go. So now what we have is we have these two flaps like this folded in, and these two folded in this way. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to open it up. So I'm going to open up one side. Well, actually, before I do that, what I need is I need a crease that's going to go right along this top edge right here where these come in. And I'm going to put that crease in there now so that the paper remembers where that fold is, because we are going to take advantage of that crease. All right, so I'm just going to fold that corner down so that I get this crease right at that edge. All right, so now we are ready to open up. So we're going to open this up. Now the idea is this triangle that we have formed right here, we are going to open it and fold it up this way. Now this triangle here is going to stay down. All right, it's going to stay where it is. So we're going to open this up, and what we want is we want to fold this triangle up this way. Okay, that's why we needed this crease here. It makes it easier. Now when I do this, I have these parts here, this flap here that we folded in, having it stick out this to the right is not what we want. What we're going to do is we're going to push it so it goes on the inside. Okay, so these creases that we put in here, we need to kind of reverse this one here. So we kind of fold that up, get that to reverse on that crease so that those parts, flaps, fold in, right, like this. All right. So now I want to do the same thing on this side. So we're going to kind of fold those in, and what that's going to do is allow this triangle to go up. All right. So we're going to fold that up, and there we go. So we now have folded up, opened up that one side. Okay. And what happens is this right here is going to represent our wing. All right. So now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're going to open it up, and this triangle up top here is going to stay where it is. This one we're going to fold up this way. So we're going to fold that up. We'll kind of get that started on that crease that we put there. And then we'll push these ones in, push these sides in, and get that crease to reverse its direction. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Fold this in. Get this crease to reverse its direction. And there we go. So now we have opened up both sides. So now if I hold it like this, what's going to happen here is these two parts here are the wings. This is going to be the top of our crane. And we'll do something with this to kind of hide it, make it look a little neater. Now, these bottom parts here, these are going to be what we use to create the tail and the head. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to fold it up like this. You can make it wherever you want. There's no specific line you want for this. Basically, I'm going to have my tail be kind of flat. So I'm going to have this one kind of come out flat and put this crease right here. Okay? If you want the tail to kind of stick up a little bit more, you could have angled it so it goes up more. All right? However you decide you want to do this. Now, there's my crease. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to fold it on that same crease going the other direction. I want the paper to fold both ways on that crease so that it will be easier for the next step. Okay, so that's going to be our tail. So here's what we're going to do. Instead of folding it up like this and just having the tail stick out like this, what we want is we want the tail to kind of come between these two flaps here. Okay, so this is we're gonna kind of flip these two creases. See how this crease here and this crease here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this up and have it follow those two creases, and then this wing here, we're gonna reverse this crease that's right here. So instead of creasing this way, we're gonna pop it so it faces that way. There we go. And so now when we fold that up, It now sticks out between those two flaps. Now that is our tail. Now for the head. And we're going to do the same type of thing for the head, but we're going to do it twice. Once to have the head, the neck come up, and then the second one is going to be for that, put the actual head on the crane. So, go ahead and flatten this down a little bit. So let's go ahead and we'll fold up this. Now I want this to be a little bit steeper than this one, just because I want it to look like that. Because this is where the head is. So I'm going to kind of come at it a little bit of a different angle. Put my crease in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and then put that same crease in, go in the other direction. There we go. So now I have this crease on both sides, and so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to kind of fold up what's going to become the neck. And then once again, this crease that's here, we're going to flip what direction it goes. So let's go ahead and flip that up. There we go. Once you get it started, it will want to do what you want. Alright. So let's flatten that out. And there we go. So now we have this part coming up between these two flaps. Alright, and that's going to represent the neck. Now, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take this part and I'm going to fold down what's going to look like the head of the crane. So I'm going to tilt this down this direction. And I think that, yep, that looks good. And so this is going to represent the head of the crane. Now, we don't want to just fold it down like this, sticking out this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this crease both directions. So let me get that crease nice and tight so I can see it easier. And I'm going to fold it the other way too on that same crease. Makes it much easier to get this reverse fold to work right if you crease both directions. So now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to open up this part here. Now this crease here, that's the part of the head, how it folds out this direction, we need to push this down and we're going to get that crease, that fold, to flip directions. So instead of folding up, we're going to kind of push it in so it folds like this. So now, if you look closely, we have our two flaps and we have our head of our crane. Alright, now we're almost done. What we're going to do is, here's our wings. I'm going to fold my wings down. And so what you could do is you can maybe put a little bit of a curve to those wings if you want them to. Alright, you can take these bottom points here, and there's actually two of them. You can kind of separate those if you want to make it so that the crane can actually sit on top of something. Kind of give it like little platform legs to kind of rest on. Sort of like that if you want. Now here the body, this sharp point, maybe you don't want that sharp point there. What you can do is we could do what's called a sink fold. And I'm going to do that on this one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top peak, and maybe I want the body to just kind of come across like right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of fold this over to where I think I want that top of the body to be. Okay. Now, I'm going to do that on the other side. I'm going to flip it over and reverse that crease on this side too to make it easier to do what we want. Okay. Alright, so now I have this crease in here. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try and open this up and see this point at the top here, instead of coming up out of the crane, we're going to try to push it so it goes into the crane. Alright, so now what we're going to do is kind of, I'm going to kind of open up the body a little bit. So I'm going to kind of open this up a little bit. So to make it easier for this point, this pyramid point, to be pushed in. There we go. So I'm going to kind of push down on that. If I push down on enough, it wants to kind of open up like that. push it down. Come on. And get that one to reverse. There we go. So I kind of got it flat. And so now I'm going to push it in. Kind of push on these sides a little bit so that it wants to collapse in on those same creases. And there we go. So push that point in a little bit more. And there we go. And so that is a sink fold. So we are able to take that point and kind of pyramid and kind of push it so it falls into the swan, or crane, sorry, instead of out. So there we go. So now we have a crane. That back looks much better than having a sharp point there. And so that is going to be our crane. All right, not too bad. I think that worked out pretty well. So yeah, you can kind of shape the wings if you want and so on. But there we go. So that is our first fold that we are going to have, our first video. And so this is the Origami Crane. And hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you watch some more. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day. See you later.